you getting to where you want to be. And then once you've identified that, identify what you need to change to make those things happen. Because that's what I had to do. I had to identify what I needed to change to make what I wanted to have happen in my life. The book I wrote about is a true story. The young girl on the cover was homeless at 14. She'd been abandoned and assaulted by different family members. She had lost her mom, not that her mom was dead. She'd lost her mom in the child-mother connection because her mom was busy. She worked several jobs. She made decisions that didn't allow the little child to flourish. And then she made the ultimate mistake, and she sent the child away. And that's where the child's life began to unravel. Being homeless on the streets in the winter of New York, not having any food to eat, not knowing what to do or anyone to turn to, she chose the one thing that she thought would save her, and that was her faith. She learned to pray. She learned to steal, drink, and curse, but she learned to pray. So those were the things that she was dealt, and had to learn how to turn those things into the things that she later wanted to become. I'm going to read you a passage from my book, and then we'll move forward once you understand a little bit more about what the child was faced with. So she'd been placed on the streets. She had no one around her that she felt she could talk to. She hadn't spoken to her mom in years, and her grandmother wasn't paying attention or didn't believe some of the things that she was saying. And she starts out as, I knew I was in deep trouble. I could hardly walk without my lungs feeling as if they would collapse at any minute. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want my friends to see me like this because I had always been one of the strong ones, able to handle anything. Now here I was, lonely, hungry, and destitute, not knowing what to do. She sat against the wall shivering, thinking of all the times her grandmother had nursed her back to health. After all the long nights she spent in the hospital, being sick from her condition, which was asthma. I have no choice, she said, but to accept defeat and return to my grandmother's house. She struggled as she tried to keep her balance and head towards the projects where she lived. The walk seemed to take forever, but in reality, it was just a few short blocks from where she now lived, which was in a garage behind some apartment buildings where no one could see her. On my way back to my grandmother's house, I reprimanded myself for being so cocky. Why did I challenge my grandfather? Why didn't I just take it, she said to herself as she shivered. Because it was wrong, she yelled out. Shaking and barely able to form a fist, she stepped onto the little porch that led to her grandmother's house. There she was, knocking in the middle of the night, holding on the best she could. The door slowly opened, and she didn't say anything, being too sick to form any words. Her eyes filled with water as her grandmother opened the door wider, just looking at her. She thought it was a sign for her to come in, but her grandmother, never saying a word, she stood there in silence. Once the door opened wider and she could see into the house, she saw her grandfather, who was standing there like the gatekeeper of hell, the man who haunted her every dream. She's sick, Albert, her grandmother looked at her pleadingly and said, but to her horror, it didn't budge her. Her grandfather stepped to the side and slowly slammed the door in her face. Being too sick to move, she slept on the stoop on the outside of her grandmother's door, listening to her brother and sister cry as they pressed their faces against the window, looking out at her. The next morning, before the neighborhood could wake up, she woke she had made it in that night. But again, she asked the Lord, why me? I listened for some sign, but she heard only silence, until the sound of an ambulance passing by gave her courage. Who would ever have thought a sound that means tragedy and death to so many others now sounded like life to her? That's it, she said. I'll go to the hospital. Surely they will keep me for at least one night. There I will be able to get food and medicine. She smiled as she thought of the comfort of food in the bed, because it had been so long. As she got up and stumbled toward the bus stop, being so sick she could barely take a breath, she thanked God as she collapsed in the middle of the street. And that was her last thought. That little girl was me. I was homeless and abandoned and left for dead. But I knew that if I stayed strong and learned to use my words so people could hear me, so people could understand me, and so people could relate to me, that someone would be there to extend a hand. That someone was a foster care, because I made it through, and I put myself in foster care. I walked in and told them, I need help. I want to be somebody. I want to do something, and I don't want anyone to ever have to go through what I went through. And they helped me. But they only gave me a